writing and blogging on the website. So hopefully you can see my screen and that we're all good to go. So I wanted to talk about tips about writing for the web as a starting point. All the different pages have little bits of text on them, and going forward in the future, you'll need to be creating new pages. So the guidance I'm going to give you in the next section is really about how things work well on the web in terms of writing. These are my tips, and they're in 3 groups. You'll see that they're colored differently. The dark red is about the reader. It's about all readers, and specifically your readers on your website. The blue is about the words, the actual words you use, and the green is about how the words actually look on the screen. We'll look at some examples of that. I'm going to go into more detail on all of these things, and I'm going to do it in those groups. So one thing about the reader, there's your specific audience, but there's also everybody as readers as they work on, as they use websites and visits websites. Think about your own behavior. What do you do when you visit a website? Do you read every word on it? I think the truth is that we scan around, we skim, we hunt, and we don't tend to read very much, except when we've requested a specific piece of detail, and then we'll dive into that. And users have a pretty short attention span when they're hopping around on the web. One study found that 55% of visitors to websites spend 15 seconds or less on a web page. And another study found that users read at most 28% of the words during an average visit. 28% of the words on a page. 20% is more likely. So we have to bear that in mind. We have to really work hard to capture attention and keep it. We've got to give people what they want. We've got to think about what it is they want to know, and then make sure that we give them the information that they're looking for, and put it prominently where they can see it. But specifically talking about the hub website, you also need to think about who's going to be visiting. What sort of things do they know? What are they interested in? And if you don't know the answer to those questions already, you should try and find out. So who are the people? It could be, it could range, I think. I mean, this is something I'd like to hear from the group actually, but it could be somebody wanting to study to be a health worker, all the way up to a minister in the Ministry of Health, or in a state government, or even in a regional or local level official. So you've probably got a wide, potentially a wide readership. But also, they all have in common that they're interested in human resources for health, in health training, health education, and in health in general. So it's useful to think about your audience and make sure that the content that you're giving them and the way that you're providing it is really suitable to them. Another thing that is worth bearing in mind, if you think about the websites that you visit where they're quite good, they tend to front load the information. They put the most important information at the top, and that goes for headlines. It goes for in a block of text, or in a section on something. They'll put the most important stuff at the top, because they know that readers will be looking for that, and will move on if they don't find it. So front loading is important. So that's about the reader. Now let's talk about the actual words you use. it's very easy when we're writing to sort of adopt a sort of voice of authority, or to try and use sophisticated language or complicated language. On websites, it's better if you write simply. I would say it's actually better generally if you can write simply. There's no need to make things complicated. Where possible, cut out the jargon and acronyms, and obviously that's very difficult rather, in the health sector. An awful lot of acronyms and specialist terms and so on. So use those sparingly, but don't use those a lot. So be very aware of that. It's very easy to write in a kind of passive voice. I've got some examples there. A coffee was ordered. Products can be ordered on our website. And they aren't as strong or as attention-grabbing as when you say who is doing something, or who is taking the action. So a man ordered a coffee. The man ordered a coffee is much stronger than a coffee was ordered. You can order products on our website. It's much more direct because it tells you it's you. Okay, you're the one that can do this. So look out for the active and passive voice in your writing. Active is better. And there's an awful lot of passive writing out there. It's just very easy. And then things very quickly lose their meaning and lose their impact. And here's something that's very important, the final point on the words of use. Given that different people are going to be contributing different to the website, and then it's going to be a team effort to keep it up to date, you need to agree amongst yourselves how you're going to use certain terms. Are you going to use the percent sign, or percent, or percent as two words? When you're using currency, is it 1 million naira, or as I've written it on the screen, or do you shorten it like that? Are you going to use the UK spelling for program or the American spelling? It doesn't really matter. These things are all at your discretion. But the thing to do is to create a list of commonly used abbreviations, and make sure that everybody who's contributing to the website uses the same language. And the reason for that is that if you see in a sentence a percent sign and then percent written out, if you see things, different conventions when using people's names, honorifics like professor, is that written out full or shortened, prof with a full stop? You even need a full stop if you shorten it. If you're not consistent with these things, it just creates a sense that the website is not professional. We don't notice these things when they're done correctly, but all the newspapers we read, all the websites we go to for our news and so on, tend to have what's known as a style guide, which is what are our rules and our agreement on how we'll spell things or how we'll describe things. And so you need to create a style guide for the Hub website, and just agree amongst yourselves, this is how we do things. Okay, I now want to talk about the words on the screen. Big blocks of text, long articles with no breaks in them are very hard for people to read on the web. Most websites break things up into small pieces, as many as possible. So sentences just tend to be short, paragraphs tend to be short. I mean, a paragraph could be one sentence, two sentences, three sentences. But and then you have a space, and then on to the next thing. And it just helps the reader work their way through the page. Also, break up the page using subheadings. Lists are good. Leave space, white space on websites. Doesn't need to be filled up with stuff. It actually helps the reader. Rather than provide everybody with all the detail on a particular topic right then and there, provide links to another page where you've got the specific detail all together. And links, adding more links, adding pictures, breaking things up, all these kinds of tips that are on this page, these are factors which search engines like Google and the other ones use to determine how good a website is. They rate and rank websites higher when they follow good practice in web writing, web design. And this is known as SEO, and I've forgotten what SEO means. Can you help me?
Search engine optimization.
Could you say it again?
Can you hear me? Search engine
That's it.
optimization.
Yeah, search engine optimization. Sorry, my
with the right accent. Yeah.
Talk all like we're going to talk about that again later, because we need to think about how we're going to make sure that our website is very prominently found when people search for anything to do with health in Nigeria. We want it to be up there on page 1 of the search findings. So we have to do some things, labeling our website and labeling our pages and so on. But search engine optimization is an important thing. But these things that I've got on the screen now are factors that help that. Okay. So this is what we've just covered now. This is about general tips for writing on the web. My recommendation is that now start to look at, as you go about your web browsing, start to look at websites critically. Ask yourself, are they giving you what you want when you want it? Are you skimming and scanning? Where is there too much detail? Is there too many words on the page? Is it too dense? Start to be a critical, almost like a critic of websites, and ask yourself what's working, what isn't, what do you like, what don't you like, and that will help you be more effective in creating good content for the website. So I wanted to share with you some quite good writing resources. Many of the tips that I've shared with you are common across a lot of the web writing guides. And so these top 3 in the list I've got on the screen here, the US government one, New York University and Bath University, are different web writing guides. And those links will take you to them. And what then we have in the second group of 3 underneath that are what I mentioned before, style guides or spelling guides. They are the lists about how different organizations decide to describe things or spell things. And the UN one is commonly used in international development projects like the Health Work of Women for Health. The Economist Style Guide's got a little bit more to it than that. It's got some writing tips in there, and the Oxford University Style Guide is another one. So these are good resources for you to look at and to come up with your own style guide and conventions for the Hub website. Now I wanted to talk about the blog. At the moment on the website, we have a news and events section. News is visible in the top menu, and I've got a little image of the top menu there. The news is there on the far right. And we've also on the home page got a panel, a little box, news and events. So we're in the process of going to, among the final changes that we make to the website, is change that to the blog. We've already created the blog page, but we haven't changed the headings. So I wanted to just talk about what's the difference between a blog section and a news section. News generally are things like announcements, something happening, something new, and they also tend to be recent. News isn't new if it's a month old. News is something we have to say or to tell everybody about. It's got to be newsworthy to be news. So I think that the term news is actually unhelpful for a website that will be updated but will not be updated every day. Blog is a much better term because it covers a much wider range potentially of subject matter, and also it's much more forgiving because things that you're talking about don't necessarily have to be new or newsy or newsworthy. They just have to be of interest to your readers. So a blog can be anything that you think your audience will be interested in, and it's relevant to them, and that you're bringing it to their attention. It could be an article that you've just read. So your blog post on about an article you've just read about, might be some human resources for health development in another country. You write, I read this article, it had these are the key points that were of interest to me. And then, in a few lines, you've told them why it's interesting, why it's relevant to them, and then you share the link. And if they're interested, they go and they follow that. So that's what that blog is. That little mini sharing of something of interest is really useful to your audience potentially, and will make people come back. So you could share details about an event happening. There's an awful lot of online training happening all the time at the moment, and things going on, conferences and so on. You can share a resource that's available, one that you've created yourself, or one that somebody else is. If another country or a big international development program has come out with some guidance or policy or material that knowledge learned, management material, learning product that could be relevant to your audience, that could be a blog entry. You say, this has just been published. We think it's really good quality and interesting. Here's the link to it. You could also be sharing calls for proposals relevant to this sector. So it's a blog can be much more than a news section, much more than an event section. What you're sharing doesn't have to be new. It could be an article from last year that you've only just read about, but is still, still relevant to your audience. You can be sharing things that you haven't produced. It doesn't have to be your own material. It can be other people's. Blog articles don't have to be long. You can write 4 lines and share a link. The key thing about a blog is it has to be interesting and relevant to your audience. So in terms of producing blog content, there are a few questions to discuss. And I think this is important for the steering committee and the hub team to consider is what are we going to blog about and what are we not going to blog about? Who is going to write blog entries? And I would say the more different authors and the more different contributors, the better. In fact, you could even invite contributions from other institutions, from the Nursing and Midwifery Council of Nigeria, from Women for Health former colleagues from other projects and programs. You can make your blog section a kind of forum for a lot of voices. So you need to think about what are we going to blog about, who are going to contribute these blog entries, and how often are we going to be blogging. If you're writing a daily blog, that's quite a hard discipline. Weekly, that's probably for a relatively small organization. Weekly is a good frequency to think about. Bi-weekly, that's okay, and as is mentioned, but I think a higher frequency means we talked about search engine optimization, SEO, another factor that determines your rankings and the way how highly your website is viewed is how often it's updated. So if you're updating every week, that's much better, obviously, than doing it once a month. So, I mean, this is something I think the steering committee, a team need to take on board and think about. What's our approach to the blog? Who's going to do it? I mean, let's say you have everybody in the steering committee is going to create blog items. Then maybe you create a rota. This is my week, and in that week you just look around and find out things that you could blog about. So you make a rota or a schedule. So it needs to be. There's a discipline here, and a lot of people think that. Writing is a chore or anything like that. It's a bit like seen as homework. But I think people will find they like doing blogs. especially if the blog entry can be really short, and a really short item and then a link to something, because it's not, that's one, you means you are looking out for interesting things to share with your readers. So it changes how you interact with information in your world. And that's good. And I think people find they enjoy running a blog. And you can, when you've got a new blog post, this is a chance to promote the website. So you have a social media account, and when the new blog comes out, even it's, as I said, it's very short, you just send a tweet or update the Facebook page, and gradually, you build up an audience and get more people interested in what you're doing. Okay, so here are the ingredients. It says ingredient, that's a spelling mistake. Ingredients for a short blog entry. Usually you want a heading, a little headline or heading that says what the blog is about in a way that will interest the reader. In terms of length, short is good. It can be a paragraph, 2 paragraphs, 3 paragraphs. Typical blog entries where they are mainly something new that you're presenting are about 300 to 700 words. Good to add links to the things you're writing about or about more information, pictures if you have them, videos if you have them. So let's just take a look at the blog section of our website. At the moment, there's only one blog entry on there. It's Icha's entry. She's just taken some Women for Health information, and so that you see there that the blog has an author. So this is a chance for different voices in the Hub team to blog, create a little sort of profile for themselves. And there you can see she's shared a short amount of information, a link, a picture, and so on. So a blog entry is can be short, can be longer, but frequency is good. So I've kind of come to the end of my section here, and before we go any further, I just want to check if we've got any questions. If any of that made any sense. I mean, over to you, Learning Hub team. What do you think? Are you interested in doing a blog? Would you be interested in contributing? How would it work for you? I see in the chat I've got a question from Dr. Duku. Are the following considered as strong requirements in blogging? Use of references, especially when quoting statistics and rates or percentages. Use of formal language. I think if you're writing for a technical audience, you want to be sort of technically literate. You can provide references in the form of links. This is where I got the information from. I think formal language, you want to use technical terms correctly, but write in a way that's engaging and accessible. Since you're drawing somebody's attention to some technical matter or some data or some research or something like that, you don't need to cover everything about it. You can just summarize or tell the readers what you found was interesting about it, and then share with them the link so that they can go out and review it themselves and decide for themselves or find out more.